From being the first fighter to ever knock Anderson Silva out, to Francis Ngannou's Mortal Kombat-worthy uppercut, here are the top finishes in UFC history. First, let's talk about Chris Weidman versus Anderson Silva. This one takes the cake for the most memorable finish of 2013, because nothing's better than seeing the mightiest take their first fall. Silva held the middleweight champion title since October 2006, but in July 2013, at UFC 162, Weidman knocked the crown right out of his hands. This wasn't totally unexpected though. A lot of people were betting on Weidman's win, but you know what nobody saw coming? The way he did it. The All-American has stellar wrestling and submission skills, so everyone thought he'd take Silva down with those. Nope. What happened was that the Spider severely underestimated his opponent's striking abilities, especially his punching power and reach. When Silva tried to perform his signature clowning move, he just couldn't lean back far enough, and then the All-American came in with a clean left hook that knocked the Spider out for the first time in his whole career. What made this finish even more memorable is that it marked the end of an era for the Spider, who lost to Weidman for a second time in their rematch later that year. After that, he only won one fight in the rest of his UFC career before he retired in 2020. This isn't the only time a champion has been dethroned either, and it sent the winner right to the top like never before. Who could forget Conor McGregor versus Jose Aldo, facing off at UFC 194? 2015 was a good year for KOs, but this one is special because it turned McGregor into a huge star. The bout between him and the Brazilian featherweight champion Aldo had been brewing for a while, but things were rocky in the beginning. For those who don't know, Jose withdrew from their first booking, so it got really delayed, which, if anything, just increased everyone's anticipation to 100 more levels. When the time did come, the hype was unreal. So many people were waiting to see if Aldo could put McGregor's trash talk to rest by defeating him, but that wasn't the case at all. In fact, Aldo looked pretty nervous from the very beginning. First of all, he overreached way too early in the fight. Then, Notorious put him to sleep with a left-hand counterpunch in 13 seconds flat. If that wasn't enough, the referee had to stop McGregor from putting more strikes on him when he was on the ground. At the time, this was the fastest title fight in UFC history, and Aldo was inconsolable after that shattering defeat. He was literally frozen. His head was in his hands, which a lot of people empathize with, because the King of Rio hadn't lost for a whole decade before this bout. That being said, Ariel Helwani said that the fighter didn't let this loss define him, as he went on to have a 6-6 record after 2015. While this was an exciting finish, this next one is known as the scariest finish in UFC history so far. I'm talking about Francis Ngannou versus Alistair Overeem at UFC 218. Of course, everyone knows Ngannou's a beast when it comes to brute strength and punching power, and this finish is the best example of how his power is almost impossible to match. For starters, the fight lasted for 2 minutes, which should tell you all you need to know. Anyway, he caught the Dutchman with such a violent left uppercut, the audience was left stunned. Not more than Overeem though, because that uppercut almost lifted him off his feet and knocked him out colder than ice in an instant. What's terrifying is that he looked dead for a good few seconds, and everyone was super relieved when he came back up. Even though he was out cold, Ngannou added another follow-up shot, and the ref had to stop him from doing more damage. Sportskeeda called this finish the closest thing anyone's seen to a Mortal Kombat uppercut in UFC history, that even Overeem called the uppercut from hell. It's super exhilarating to see a finish in the first few minutes of a fight, but it's even more intense when you see a knockout at the end of a super wild one, like how Yair Rodriguez finished Chan Sung Jung. At UFC Fight Night 139, we got arguably the best knockout of 2018, all thanks to Rodriguez. This was a special show because it was also the UFC's 25th anniversary, and the fight was wild from start to finish, because it really looked like Jung was gonna land land a finish and win, but nope. In the last second of their 5th round, the Korean Zombie looked ready to land a flurry and win, till Rodriguez ducked and elbowed Jung in the jaw. Instant KO. Nobody was expecting this to happen because it was so quick. So imagine how skilled you have to be to deliver a KO at the very last second. Sure, Jung was left shocked, but so was everyone else watching, because this is pretty much one of the most bizarre and unexpected finishes ever. Seriously, after the crowd cheered, they went dead silent for a while because they were concerned for Jung's safety, but he was fine after getting checked out at the hospital. What's more, the fighter said he couldn't even remember that devastating upwards arcing elbow till he saw it on video, and told interviewers he was super ashamed about that loss right after. While this finish was almost like a jump scare, this next one was very smartly planned and at the speed of lightning. Jorge Masvidal versus Ben Askren is pretty legendary after all. This finish knocks every other one out of the park based on time, because Masvidal broke the record for the fastest knockout in UFC history at UFC 239. The fact that both of these fighters were bitter enemies just adds salt to the wound, no? While it was fast, it was also a planned move that ended up working out for Masvidal. Here's how it went down. Gamebred knew that Askren would go for a takedown from the off, so he decided he'd counter it with a flying knee. Other than being a spectacular finish, it was also pretty funny. Askren shot forward with a sprint and his head ducked. And bam! Masvidal cleanly knocked him out by leaping up and hitting him with the knee. Before this, Jorge was an MMA veteran who was going through a hard time breaking into the mainstream, but this flying knee made history and propelled him into fame in 5 seconds. As for his opponent, he told MMA Hour that he realized what happened when he was in the hospital, and even said that Jorge needs to thank him for that finish because of all it did for him. It's amazing what quick thinking and smart strategies can do in a fight, especially in this next bout. Impa Kasanganay versus Joaquin Buckley. UFC Fight Night 179 in 2020 was historic because Buckley delivered a knockout truly for the ages. It was super intense throughout, but when it came to the finish, oh man, everyone was on the edge of their seats. Kasanganay had blocked a head kick from Buckley, after which he grabbed a hold of his leg, but Buckley acted quick because that opened up an opportunity for him to land a spinning kick. And you bet your bottom dollar that's exactly what he did. He first landed a punch, then a spinning kick that sent Kasanganay straight to the ground. The video of this finish went viral on UFC's Instagram account and the crowd went wild. A lot of fans in the comments called it one of the greatest KOs in UFC history. And it sure did help Buckley's career because he went on to go viral again for knocking out Jordan Wright in his next fight. Sure, that was impressive too, but this was the viral moment that propelled him into fame. Who wouldn't recognize him as a promising middleweight fighter after this, right? Well, those were the top 6 finishes in UFC history.